In a rare example of direct operational cooperation between Washington and Tehran, U.S. authorities have deported a group of Iranian nationals on a charter flight after reaching an arrangement with Iranian officials, according to multiple reports and statements from Iranian government sources. The flight, which departed from the United States and made a technical stop in the Gulf before continuing to Iran, carried roughly 100 people, Iranian officials said, and Tehran has signaled it expects several hundred more returns under the same arrangement. Iran's Foreign Ministry Consular Affairs officials said the deportations were part of an agreed process and that Tehran had been given assurances about the safety and treatment of returnees. Iranian officials publicly described the operation as orderly and said additional flights to repatriate people they characterize as having entered the United States illegally are likely in the coming days. Iranian state statements also indicated that around 120 of the nationals would be flown back imminently, and suggested a broader total of roughly 400 people could be affected by the arrangement overall. U.S. officials have declined to provide full public detail on the negotiations or operational logistics, citing ongoing diplomatic and law enforcement considerations. The move is striking because it represents direct coordination on immigration removals between two countries that have long-standing political and strategic antagonisms and limited formal diplomatic engagement. Facilitating large-scale returns to a country with which the United States has a fraught relationship required diplomatic, legal and logistical arrangements uncommon in recent U.S. immigration practice. Human rights organizations and asylum advocates immediately expressed concern about the deportations. Central to those concerns is whether each individual deported received a full and fair opportunity to present claims for protection, including asylum, and whether credible fear screenings and immigration court processes were completed prior to removal. Under international law, the principle of non-refoulement forbids returning people to a country where they would likely face persecution. Critics argue any large-scale removals to a country with documented rights abuses should be approached with heightened safeguards and independent verification. Some returned individuals, Iranian officials said, had been detained in the United States after their asylum requests were denied or while their immigration cases were pending. Reports also indicate a mix of circumstances. Some people opted to board repatriation flights voluntarily after lengthy detention, while others were removed involuntarily. Humanitarian advocates caution that voluntary returns from detention can reflect limited options rather than genuine consent, especially when alternatives such as release or legal assistance are not readily available. Legal questions loom in the United States as well. If removals occurred before full immigration court hearings or without completed credible fear interviews, affected individuals or advocacy groups could seek legal remedies in U.S. courts. Past litigation has sometimes halted removals when judges found procedural or constitutional failings in how deportations were carried out. Politically, the deportations may be framed by U.S. policymakers as evidence of firm immigration enforcement. For Iran, accepting returnees could serve multiple domestic and diplomatic purposes, though it also carries risks for returnees who may face official scrutiny, arrest or social stigma depending on their backgrounds. At present, public information about the identities, backgrounds and vulnerabilities of those deported is limited. That opacity has intensified calls from rights groups for transparent, independent monitoring of the treatment and well-being of returnees. Observers say the episode could set a precedent for future deportations to countries with poor human rights records unless stricter safeguards are implemented. The coming days will likely clarify whether additional flights occur and whether U.S. or international legal challenges emerge. Meanwhile, the case underscores the tension between governments' border control priorities and international obligations to protect people fleeing persecution.